All right. Well, welcome to episode 34. We are almost done here. Today, Paul has been on house arrest for nearly 2 years, and he is almost to the point of being released. About this time, Nero had come back to Rome, and so uh, they had a backlog of nearly 5 years, a backlog of stuff for him to deal with since he had left Rome originally. And so basically they set this agenda and they're going to push everything through so fast. And I really think that whatever representative was there to represent Paul probably took his stuff up there, and I don't know. I expect it was probably really quick. Nobody from Jerusalem came. None of the accusers showed up to testify against him, and so I think they probably just pushed him through the system, declared him innocent, and released him. But as all this was going on, as Nero comes back to town, and they're preparing for all of this to happen, Paul sits down and writes a letter to Titus just before he's released from prison. And so we're making a shift. The last few weeks we've talked about what they call the prison epistles, the letters that Paul wrote to the churches in Ephesus and Philippi and Thessalonica, to Philemon, who's also, or Colossians, the church in Colossus, and then to Philemon, who is in Colossus, not to Thessalonica. Sorry about that. But so it was Ephesus, um, Philippi, Philemon, and Colossus were the four prison epistles that he wrote. And now he's making a shift. And the next two that we're going to look at here are they consider pastoral epistles. And so these really, Titus and Timothy were both church leaders. And so Paul was writing to them. I want to, I guess first I want to look here at the timeline. This shows, here we go, Paul's life timeline. And so we're right here. We're at the end of the 64 AD number here where Paul's writing to Titus and he's getting ready to be released. And then the books, we're here where he's writing Titus just before he gets released from Rome. So I was going to read this little letter that I have of Titus. So Titus was mentioned in Paul's writings 13 times, and the letter to, and including a letter to him, or plus a letter to him, along with First and Second Timothy, they are considered the pastoral epistles. Paul wrote to Titus right around the time of his release from house arrest. Titus most likely served with Paul on both the second and third missionary journeys. Paul's last mention of Titus suggests that he had gone to minister in Dalmatia, which is modern day Yugoslavia. And I can pull that up on the map here to give you an idea. So Paul is in Rome here. And over here are this is Greece. Here's Achaia. So here's where the church of Philippi would be, and the church of Ephesus and Colossus would be over here. So they think that Titus is up here in Yugoslavia, modern day Yugoslavia area, and so that's where that it suggests that he's at. Paul's primary purpose for writing to Titus was to give encouragement and counsel to a young preacher with the intent that it be passed on to other church leaders. And it's a very simple book. It's very quick. It's only 3 chapters. And it basically just offers instructions for effective evangelism, church leaders in the church and in the world. And I want to look at something real quick as we consider evangelism in the world and look at chapter 3. And if you want to go back and read Titus chapter 3 and study it, this is a great tool, I think, to help us understand our responsibility in witnessing to people. I I come across a lot of people that feel almost a sense of guilt that they have to say something to somebody, almost like they're responsible for this person being saved, and that's really not the case. So let me go through this. Okay. Verse 1 here says, "Put them in mind to be subject to principalities, powers, obey magistrates, and be ready to every good work." So according to Titus chapter 3, this is our first responsibility. Okay, we need to be subject to the powers and authorities over us, whether it's local government, state government, federal government, our church leaders, our leaders at work. We need to be not obedient to the point of disobeying God, but we need to be obedient to the point of being right in our obedience. We need to, we don't Christians don't need to be the kind of people who come home and cast condemnation on their bosses and coworkers. I mean, we need to bring these people into prayer, but we need to be good. We need to be ready for every good work and subject to the people over us. Number 2, verse 2, speak evil of no man. Be no brawler, but gentle, showing meekness unto all men. Now, I don't know hardly any Christians that do this, and I mean, I'm guilty just as well. I mean, we're human, so we do things that we shouldn't. But I mean, speak evil of no man. That's what the Bible says. Be subject to the powers over us, and don't speak evil of people. And there's a lot of people that are sinners living in sin today that don't know any better, and us condemning them and judging them based on what we know to be true isn't helping our witness. That we don't become effective witnesses when we just get on and cast condemnation on people for the way they live. We should not speak evil of them. We should share the gospel in love. So verse 3 here, this is why we also find ourselves sometimes foolish, disobedient, deceived, serving divers lusts and pleasures, living in malice, envy, hate, and hating one another. So people that see us, when they see us living this way, and then we condemn other people because they live a way that we know is wrong, it ruins our witness. And so we should not speak evil of people. We should try not to live like this. If you look at verse 8, it's a faithful saying, these things that I will affirm constantly, that they which believe in God might be careful to maintain good works. So we need to be careful not to be doing this stuff. Don't be foolish, disobedient, deceived, serving our lusts and pleasures, being malice and envy and hateful, talking about people behind their back or even in front of their face. I mean, we shouldn't be talking about people to other people. So we need to be obedient to the powers and authorities over us. We need to not speak evil of other people, and we need to try to always maintain good works. And so that's our primary responsibility as a witness for Christ. But I think that this will bring on times when we can talk more about Christ. If we are this kind of person, people are going to say, how are you, like this? And then you can start sharing Jesus, and you can witness to them. But then when you get into witnessing, the Bible says in verse 9, avoid foolish questions, genealogies, contentions, and strivings about the law. Don't talk about actions and acts that are righteous or not righteous. Share Jesus with them. If they reject it, they reject it. But your responsibility is share Jesus. Don't get caught up. If somebody walks up to you and wants to debate the doctrine of the Trinity, and you don't know if they're saved, then don't get caught up in it. Just say, hey, Jesus saved me and I'm going to heaven. I know it for sure. And I can share that with you, or that opportunity with you. And look at verse 10, a man that is a heretic after the first or second admonition reject. So if you're sharing Jesus with somebody and they reject you once or even twice, then the Bible says to reject them. Just walk away. It's your responsibility is not to save them. Verse 11 says, know that he is subverted and sinneth and being condemned of himself. You haven't condemned him. His soul is not your responsibility. His soul is his responsibility. So we need to stop feeling like we have this responsibility to save everybody, but we also need to start taking better uh, charge of how we live our lives. Stop talking. I mean, the things I see Christians post on Facebook about other people blows me away. I mean, the hate, the division, the, the it's just, I don't know. It frustrates me just thinking about it. We need to start loving our fellow man. And I think our love, the Bible says they will know we are Christians by our love. So I think if we love people, it will be obvious and be seen. And so I'm going to leave it there. That's the letter to Titus. And so now Paul's going to be released next week. We'll look at his release and what happened after that and his letter to Timothy. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next time. God bless you.